It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Now, my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. Tim, I am so certain of this one this week. It's a little video of you in the background, not too many years ago, in fact, and you are at a karaoke bar. Somebody caught you on video singing your favorite Beach Boys song, Sail on Sailor. And isn't that apropos because Brian Wilson died just a couple of days ago, even though he wasn't the primary writer of that song. But
God only knows, Bruce. God only knows.
But
No, I'm enjoying the mostly
getting
peaceful,
some bad vibrations here.
Mostly peaceful protests.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Very nice. Is that AI generated, or is that part of the real protest that went on?
I don't think it's either. I think it just pulled a burning car off the internet.
Yeah.
There's too much green in the background actually for it to be LA, but I didn't.
Yeah, right.
I didn't have time.
LA is burnt to a crisp from the summer, so there is no greenery.
Had I had the time, I would have downloaded the Vampire Weekend Diane Young video, which is just 4 minutes of a Volvo burning. They actually bought a Volvo. Oh no, a Saab. I think it was a Saab. They bought a Saab, particularly. I mean, this was before they were huge and could afford stuff like this. They bought a used classic Saab just to burn it, and that's all they did. The entire video was it slowly catching fire, and then.
And this is performance
art.
I
guess so. Then they put their music in the background.
Sure.
Diane Young, don't change your mind, baby, you're out of time.
Oh, Vampire Weekend singer responds to burning Saab controversy. Yeah. Thank you for that story there, Chris. It's got to be better than Andy Warhol showing a guy sleeping for 8 hours, I guess. So,
or the Empire State Building.
I'll bet
for 12.
Speaking of Brian Wilson, I should mention this. There have been Americans have been told to get out of the Middle East. There are intriguing signs that something is going to happen in the Middle East very soon, and who knows, by the time this is actually broadcast, maybe something will have happened. Many signs, not the least of which is that the key member of the group that inspired the parody "A Bomb, 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 Iran" just died. And I just, but I like to make these connections. And you never know. Although he didn't write that one.
Sure. Do I need to go? Did Mike Love? Was it Mike Love who was being inducted?
No, it was some other guy, and I forgot who it is. It's not Mike Love, but
Mike Love's being inducted tonight.
Into what?
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think.
Had this been planned?
Yeah, before he died.
Yeah,
I don't think it could have. Oh my God, Brian Wilson died. We got to induct Mike Love.
Yeah, right. Quickie, let's throw him in. So
here's the tinfoil take on what's going on in Iran. Absolutely no evidence of this.
Okay.
Is Israel wants to know what kind of defense that Iran has. There's no secret that Israel is going to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. We all know that.
I hope, and that's
it's a brilliant military strategy just to move out all the irrelevant people out of all the embassies in the Middle East. That automatically makes Iran go, oh no, what is about to happen here? And so what they're going to do is they're going to prepare for an attack.
Okay.
And now we can watch what they do when they prepare
not do anything.
Just watch the, do they have defense? Do they have a defense shield? Do they move equipment? And we can watch on satellite and have our intel sources all report on what Iran is doing right now, so that when we do bomb Iran, a bomb.
I love when we harmonize that way.
So when we do, when it does happen, we know. I do not believe that Trump would be this loud about it. I mean, this is almost Obama loud.
It is. It seems like it's telegraphing it. Well, all right. Speaking of, you may be right. Speaking of, your car in the background, the AI generated car or just generic internet car. So the big story, of course, forget about LA for a second. In Chicago, of course, a 66-year-old woman was hit by a car during the demonstration on State Lake. Okay. And WGN interviewed her, 66-year-old woman, did not ask her the question, isn't it illegal to be standing in a street where cars go?
Unless it was on a car walk, a crosswalk, that is jaywalking, which even though is very popular in Chicago, is
Well,
illegal.
somebody tweeted back to me, you know, she was just lucky she wasn't hit by one of those maniacs in the bike lanes because but the woman says, I'm beat up, a Chicago woman. Now, here's, I'm in a singing mood here. That State Street, that great street, I just want to say, don't moving vehicles have the right of way? Hey, okay, so
You know, in the Netherlands,
yeah.
which is often brought up by leftists as utopia. I mean, that's the Bernie Sanders model, what he wants to do. In the Netherlands, because this is just Dutch sensibility, if you're crossing illegally and get hit by a car, you are responsible to damage to that car.
It's hard for me to believe, because isn't the Netherlands one of those socialist republics that Bernie Sanders loves?
Yeah, but they're also Dutch conservative. You know what I mean?
Why are they a contradiction terms? I mean,
We'll
because
we'll take care of you if you're sick and you really need it. But
okay.
if you're stupid, you have to pay the price for your stupidity.
The problem is that the basic conceit of socialism is that we're all stupid and we need the benevolent dictator to show us the way, and
Yeah,
therefore
we'll reattach
nobody's
your
responsible
limbs.
for anything, including jaywalking.
Yeah,
But
we will reattach your limbs for free, because we think that's the socialist way for healthcare. But you're going to pay for that bumper. You're going to pay for those stains on that bumper.
This guy John Brabritsky tweeted back to me. She was on her way home after a tough afternoon as a docent and forgot where she parked her Subaru. Man, get off her back. And to that I say, first of all, this guy lives in a dream world, because all the Art Institute white little old lady docents were fired in the name of DEI, and I think they were replaced by one DEI voice on a recording. Somebody that read something. So, but somebody said, "Who's taking care of her cats?" They showed the woman in her house. They showed the woman in her house, and she's got this couch that it's a melange of colors and fabrics or whatever. And it's
Scratch it
she
up
did
a
not
bit.
make a great impression on me. Somebody called her a postmenopausal Marxist. Somebody said to me, in Florida, you're allowed to stand your ground in your car with your car, not in Hunger Games, Illinois. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah, DeSantis didn't he just do a proclamation that if
I think he said
you're
it's mandatory to actually look for people and try and pick them off.
No, he said if it's an emergency, you can, it's allowed to run them down. So
all right, here's what's going to happen. I got a bone to pick with the next president of the United States, Gavin Newsom. He's such an easy mark. So Tommy Tuberville, the senator from Alabama, was saying, what a mess LA is and everything. And Newsom shot back, hey, you've got 4 times the crime or murder rate that we do, or 3 times the crime or murder rate. And the same thing, Alabama has 3 times the homicide rate of California. Its murder rate is ranked 3rd in the entire country. Stick to football, bro. And the same thing happened with Arkansas as well. Here's the problem. I'd like to tell the governor of California, Alabama is 26% black. You know what the percentage of blacks there are in California?
10.
6.
Wow.
So actually, so Alabama is something like 4.5 times the blacks population
Sure.
that California has, and has only 3 times the homicide rate, I'd say that Alabama's doing a pretty good job. And Governor, you don't really want to go there, do you? I mean, I love when they throw these statistics out and they don't realize what's underlying the underlying facts of those statistics. And I mean, the same thing with Arkansas as well. So I mean, it's just that's what you're fighting here is Gavin Newsom and his demagoguery. Also, Keith Olbermann trying to make like it's no big deal. What I loved about the tweet that he had, he's wearing this green shirt and he's got his arms crossed. And I just want to say, Simon Says, uncross your arms. And people were thinking it was like a man-made man's ear or something, but I don't know. He didn't know what to do with his arms apparently. But
Well,
all right, so big
good.
question.
See, I'm sure if he was working at CNN, a coworker could have given him an idea.
Okay. What so there's Keith, with his arms folded. Where does Rahm stand on this? This is the perfect opportunity. You know that Rahm is a candidate for president. Somebody you got to have a Democrat.
I know exactly where Rahm stands on a podium riser.
On the shoulders of somebody so that he can see the crowd. No, the parade. No, So I hear, but you know that it's like Fetterman is saying no violence. Everybody else is kind of excusing it, and that's a loser because people are on the side of law and order right here. Although I think at some point, don't you agree that the public is not in favor of sending back people who've been here like 10 years or something? It's going to be a de facto citizenship or residency or whatever, and it's not going to happen. I mean, as you look down the road, what do you think?
No, people don't mind the guys in the kitchen cooking for them. They don't
not mind it. They need it at Martha's Vineyard. So we'll see what happens. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So you know that TACO acronym for Trump? Trump always chickens out.
Sure.
And I could see that, for tariffs and other actions. But in the context of the immigration battle, if you use the word taco, and you're a liberal, but it's almost like it's like a racist slur.
Well, maybe it might have been at one point, but
it isn't now.
But no, because of Taco Bell, there's not much whiter. There's no food much whiter than a taco.
I'll tell you.
I mean, the only thing whiter than a Taco Bell is Applebee's, maybe. And that's
it's a battle. It's a battle. All right, here's, things are really bad. So Michael Douglas, the son of Kirk Douglas. Pardon my Frank Gorshin impersonation of Kirk. He was at some event, and Chris, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, so get ready to hit the delay, as we used to say. But when asked about U.S. President Donald Trump at the Taormina Film Festival, Michael Douglas apologized on behalf of the U.S. and said, "I was born at the end of World War II, but in my lifetime, this is the worst time that I can ever remember." And my immediate response was, "Is this even worse than the time that you got tongue cancer from cunnilingus?" I mean, so that's
wow.
Chris,
I don't know. I think a lot of people will say that the cancer, totally worth it.
Okay. All right. Moving on. So we okay, so
what did WGN News have to say on Trump and Pride Month?
Well, thanks for setting me up on this. So apparently they've canceled like all the Pride Month celebrations at the White House and everything. But here's the thing. Yeah, I remember Trump at the 2016 GOP convention. Remember back in 2016 when I think a lot of Republicans were still against what is we then called gay marriage. I don't even think you're allowed to say that anymore. But Trump actually
Well, no,
congratulated.
because let me go back on that because
Yeah.
really there's no such thing as gay marriage, is it?
Well,
I mean,
let's have a semantic
well, no,
discussion.
you could. I mean, two men can get married
Mm,
without
mm,
being gay, can't
yeah.
they?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise it's discriminatory. I mean,
I
there's
agree
no state
wholeheartedly.
test for gay. They don't say,
Yeah.
"Oh, you want to be gay married?" Well, okay, name 5 Judy Garland films. That does not happen.
All right. I can name you two. All right. And well, three.
Okay.
How many
Yeah,
Judy Garland movies
that's
can you name?
borderline. That's
It's
borderline,
borderline.
Bruce.
I think I might qualify as your spouse. Of course, Wizard of Oz. And I just saw a clip on the internet just yesterday. I swear, Ray Bolger reprising "If I Only Had a Brain," sitting there next to Judy Garland on her variety show in 1963, 24 years later. But they didn't dance.
Well, no.
I
It's
mean, but
how old
here,
was Ray Bolger that time? Did you say?
he's getting up there.
He's got to be. Yeah, he's got to be close to a
There,
century at that point.
there was a movie that they did together called the Harvey Girls, and Chattanooga, not Chattanooga, the Atchison, Topeka, and
Judy
Santa
Garland,
Fe.
Judy
Judy
Garland.
Garland, Atchison,
Okay.
Topeka, and Santa Fe song
Okay.
was on there. That's like a 20-minute song. It's about the
So
Harvey restaurant girls. Ray Bolger does, it had to be 12 minutes if it was 1 minute, 12-minute dance number.
wow.
And I was exhausted watching it. This guy was phenomenal.
Wow.
And
So that's exactly 2 Judy Garland films. You're right.
Judy Garland's in the third Judy Garland movie. Well, how about Meet Me in St. Louis?
3.
Okay. Fourth Judy Garland movie. Well, can I count Liza? Would she be part of it? Because she was in Cabaret, and
Okay.
I saw Liza Minnelli in concert. Okay, so that counts as the fifth at the Eric Crown Theater. Her opening act. You might be familiar with this comedian, Sandy Barron. You remember the comedian Sandy Barron?
Do not remember Sandy Barron.
See, because I was even going to ask you in the pantheon, in the roster of American comedians, how much higher than Sandy Barron do you think you would rate? And but you don't even remember him. Okay.
Well, yeah, as far as recognizability, as far as Q factor,
Yeah.
we're pretty much
I think
even.
Sandy Barron may have been in the movie If It's Tuesday, This Must Be Belgium.
Huh?
But all right. So
here's my Liza Minnelli story. It'll be really quick. Liza Minnelli story. Okay. I'm out in LA. The wife and I are out in LA. We're seeing the sights. We're cruising down Rodeo Drive.
Sure.
And we stop at a crosswalk, and woman walks in front of us. And my first impression was, look at that idiot trying to look like Liza Minnelli.
Oh my goodness.
And all of a sudden I went, oh, wait a minute.
It was in fact.
It was
and
in
she
fact.
went, and she turned to you and she said, you and your wife, and she said, it's Liza with a Z, not Lisa with an S, because Liza with a Z goes to nuts. Because that was a song that she had.
But it was really funny because she had the huge sunglasses, the bright red lipstick, and the babushka, trying to look like Liza Minnelli incognito. But obviously was Liza Minnelli.
I mean, what a thrill.
Yeah,
and of course, you didn't have cell phone cameras at the time. You could
Nope. There's no verification
with her. All right. So my point, when we went off into this tributary, was that Donald Trump at the GOP convention in 2016 congratulated the GOP for relaxing their uptight views of same-sex marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know that in 2024, there was nothing about opposition to same-sex marriage anymore in the GOP platform, or even attempted at that. So there you have it. Donald Trump, like the first candidate of a major party to be actually in favor of gay marriage, because Hillary wasn't, Barack Obama wasn't. I mean, he lied, but he wasn't. Trump was the first in favor, and yet now in the White House, he wants to cancel all these.
Well, I think the reason why Barack Obama was against gay marriage, because if gay marriage was legal, Michelle would have cut it off for nothing.
All right. So all right, let's anyway.
No, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. I kind of support this. Do we really need a month? I mean,
Right. I mean, at this point,
yeah, at this point in history,
take
do we
the
really
victory.
need a month?
Well, take the victory.
It went from what was it? I can't remember the name of the bar. Stonewall? Is that the Stonewall bar? Stonehenge? I can't remember.
Where
But it was
Matthew
that.
Shepard? Is that the
No,
bar
no,
where
no. It was before. It was
Oh,
the Stonewall. It was a gay bar that the police shut down in New York, and they said, you know what, we're not shutting
okay.
down. And then homosexuals from all across the city came in, and they started rioting and protesting, and that was the first point that it was that people came out and recognized
Yeah.
that there was a community and they needed their civil rights.
Yeah, that battle's over.
Right,
That-
but it was one day. It was one day
Yeah,
in
right.
June that you would commemorate that,
Sure.
and then it was pride parades on that weekend, or the nearest weekend,
Sure.
where you would celebrate that liberation, and they kind of turned into Mardi Gras, and then they said, you know what? Why do we have to do this just one day? Let's make it a week. Let's make it a Pride Week. And so it was like 7 days. So it was like Mardi Gras. It was a full week before Pride Day. And then it's, a week is too short. Let's make it a month. And it's like, okay.
I mean, let me ask you this. If I watch a Judy Garland or Liza Minnelli movie or listen to a song or something like that, do I get credit and then I don't have to participate necessarily?
Did you ever ride on a float, Bruce? Did you ever ride on a Pride float?
It's interesting. You remember the team of Roe and Gary on WLS radio?
Yeah, I do.
I remember them talking about how they were invited to be on the Pride float, and they were giggling like, I think we're not going to. We have something else to do. It was just
right
at that point. Even your hip avant-garde
sure.
Afternoon talk show guys were nervous about that as late as I don't know the early when were they together up until 2004 when Roe
if
Gary left and Roe tried to replace him with me. What? Go ahead.
If I remember right, Ron Majors actually guilted Roe into getting onto the float with him.
Did he really?
If I remember right, yeah. I don't think Gary went on the float. I think Roe came up on the float with Ron Majors for
really.
And Ron Majors said, "You know what, Roe? I'm not going to sell you a horse unless you get up on the float with me." Oh, all right.
Okay. Yeah. Hey. Evolution. People grow. I think sometimes they grow in the opposite direction. Everybody thinks in terms of progress, but I think there's a lot of regression that goes on as well. I mean, that's
it's kind of gone too far. It went for, we want a wedding just like we were straight to we want boys in women's sports, and it's
Well, I mean,
the
classic,
pendulum swing way too far.
Classic is J.K. Rowling. I mean, there's Harry Potter, most popular author in the history of the world, and she's a pariah now because of this.
It wasn't enough that she wrote a gay wizard into her book. No, that wasn't enough.
No. Not at all. Not at all. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So some disturbing news, and please put your tinfoil hat on for me on this one, Tim. The story, and I didn't read the whole story because, I just try to intuit it from the tweet, but it basically says the government has been propagating the UFO myth all this time. Apparently, it's in the best interest of the government. So you'd think which is worse, keeping from us that there are aliens or trying to make us think that there are aliens? I mean, it's really disappointing if there are no aliens, that this was just a story that we've been told by the government. What do you think?
I think there are no aliens. I think the distance and just the simple laws of physics make it impossible to visit another solar system. I think I think it's never going to happen. I think it's never happened in history. I think no society has ever gotten that advanced that they could do it. And that's
Just a second. Do you realize, like, within 10 years, I think, or 20, 15 years, SpaceX supposedly is going to be worth like $1 trillion or $3 trillion?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for
we're going to,
Mars tourism. That's it. That's
yeah, well, are you not familiar with the Ray Bradbury story? Let me tell you something. Because I grew up near Greenville, Illinois, i.e.
Mhm.
Waukegan. Actually, I didn't grow up. I kind of live near there now. So Ray Bradbury tells the story about the first spaceship to Jupiter. Okay,
Mhm.
and they're flying to Jupiter, and it's 100-year trip. All right,
Mhm.
and when they land in Jupiter 100 years later, they're greeted by Americans who've been there for 50 years. And think about that.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to be the first, but that's the way the acceleration of progress in technology. You don't know. Did you
Yeah.
ever think that you were going to have a phone that you could do all these things? Well, if you'd read David Foster Wallace, Infinite Jest, yeah, he had the whole picture phone thing thought about in the mid '90s, and thought that people wouldn't actually use it because the great thing about being on the telephone is that you can do other things and don't have to be seen by the other party.
Well,
But
I don't think a lot of people use Zoom for fun or FaceTime for
no, it's
fun.
all
It's
business.
all business. Yeah,
And I got to
it's
tell you, the thing about Zoom is that it kind of coincides or dovetails very nicely with the destruction of my television career. No question, the iPhone had a lot to do with that. But good riddance to the career, because the whole thing about being on TV was it special. I'm on TV, you're not. Now everybody's on
yep.
TV. Everybody's on a Zoom meeting. I'm
I
this
remember
close
when
to putting
going
on my
to
old HD makeup.
I remember when going to Sears and they had a video camera set up in there that you could
Yeah,
actually walk in
sure.
front of the video camera and see yourself on the television was a really big deal. It's
As
like,
you
oh my
walked in, it
God.
wasn't Sears. It may have been one of the other ones that went the funk before Sears. You'd walk in, you'd smell the caramel corn as you were passing the lawnmowers, the electric lawn, because there was
You know,
all these different.
that was not Sears, that was Sears.
Was that Sears?
That
I
was
can't.
Sears.
Oh,
And
okay.
it wasn't just the caramel cone. They had a nut stand, and
Okay.
all the nuts were under a heat lamp, so the entire store smelled of fresh roasted nuts.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was
Is it wrong? They have freshly roasted nuts.
I can close my eyes and still, and they had the
Yeah.
vacuum cleaner with a blowing the beach ball with the beach ball
Well,
spinning on top of the
you know,
vacuum cleaner pipe. And
and
then over
I'm
by the dishwasher, they had a see-through dishwasher with a see-through door so you could see the dishwasher working.
stop it already. You're just exciting me. So listen, you know what I'm thinking now? I'm wondering what was the name of the lawnmower? The Sears Craftmaster or something, whatever.
Craftsman.
Craftsman.
That was their brand.
I'm wondering how many of those lawnmowers were sold by the smell of caramel corn. you That's why people bought the Craftsman. And when they got home, they were wondering, why isn't it as fun as I thought it was going to be?
Well, I
Because there
think
was no
part of the
caramel.
reason why they bought the Craftsman was it was easy financing. Sears
Oh,
also
sure.
kind of did that. Is that, oh no, you can take it home today. Just
It was basically Sears just was a finance company. It
$10 a
was,
month.
yeah,
Yeah, as
yeah,
well. Yeah,
yeah,
and
no
they were an
problem.
auto company. They were, and
Anyway, so
who can
the
forget
point is,
who can forget the arrival of the Wish book? That was always a big moment in our house.
what was there? It
The
was a
Sears
wish
Wish
book.
book.
Was that a calendar? Was that a
It
catalog?
was well, it was the Christmas catalog. They called it the Wish
Oh,
book
the wish
because
book.
yeah, but
Do you remember the Spiegel catalog?
yeah, we'd get that too, but
You know what?
we'd fight over the Sears. We got the
Spe-
pennies as
All
well.
right.
Nobody wanted those two.
Spiegel was Chicago 9, Illinois. I don't even know what that means. It was before area codes.
Wow.
Chicago 9, Illinois. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Boy, that's like
Okay,
that's
we're
like a
okay.
that's like a TV promo now, isn't it? Chicago 9, Illinois.
Right, totally. Sure. NBC Thursday night, Chicago stuff. So, yeah, if we've been fooled, if we've been bamboozled by the government all this time, I mean, to paraphrase Pogo, we have met the alien and he is us. I want to believe. Look, I think that it could happen as I documented here how fast progress is tech. And remember, these aliens are superior beings, so they know how to get through.
Sure.
Hell's bells. Did you not know that 45 years ago, today or yesterday, was the anniversary of ET? I mean, we're in an ET nostalgia moment right now. Star Wars, or had its anniversary.
Well, the big joke among comics is that they came here looking for intelligent life and couldn't find any.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like,
Right.
oh, so you think they would go home? Are you kidding? I watched
You know what the
every single episode of Honey Boo Boo several times over. No, they came here. They said there's no intelligent life, but the
right?
comedy is amazing.
Do you know what do you know what the key one of the key elements of ET, why Gene Siskel of blessed memory thought it, among many reasons, why he thought ET was so wonderful and authentic, because when the kids were feeding ET, or they gave him Reese's Pieces, whereas M&M's was the old guard, but Reese's Pieces were what the kids were into in 1982.
Well, no,
Okay,
no,
and
no,
so
that's not accurate, Bruce.
oh
Well,
no, listen, you can tell me about this or that conspiracy theory and what you think the United States is doing vis-a-vis Iran and Trump's 16-dimensional chess, but don't tell me that in 1982 Reese's Pieces weren't on you know
they were not.
in the vanguard.
They had just no, they were not. They had just hit the market, and a lot of people did not know they even existed. What happened is that the Spielberg or whoever was selling for him went to the Mars Candy Corporation and said, "We want ET to be like way into M&Ms, and if you give us a little bit of money, we will make sure that
He tried to
ET."
shake down Mars Candy.
They tried to shake down Mars Candy, and they said, "We will have no part of it." So they went to Reese's, and they go, "Yeah, yeah, make ET, sure. Reese's Pieces, absolutely." It was virtually an unknown candy up until that point.
And
But
now you know the rest of the
that
story.
movie made Reese's Pieces the most popular candy from that generation of kids.
So
It kind of blew M&M's away. That became the old people candy.
well, so I had the cart before the horse.
Yes, you did.
Okay, I concede. I could now. You know what? I'm ready to believe that the 2016 election, the 2020 election was rigged. Now, I don't even
Well,
know. Yeah,
to get back to the original
yeah.
topic. I was big into UFOs as a kid, like in the 60s, because there were all the sightings in the 50s. But now, as a much older, much wiser adult, I know that, yeah, there were unidentified flying objects, but there were people who knew what they were. They were
Wow.
experimental Air Force aircraft that people would see. They were flying very, very fast. They were strange lights. They maneuvered quicker than any vehicle known of the day, and it was just experiment. And that yes, and there
Yeah.
were crashes because that's what happens when it's
What happened to the
experimental.
UFOs over New Jersey a few months ago? Remember? Remember back in the Biden administration,
Same thing. Same
there were
thing.
UFOs,
It was
and
they were testing drones. People saw them, and then a lot of people when they said they were drone sighted, some people are pranksters. The people that are like way into drones said, "Ooh, let's fly our drone and see if we can cause a little mayhem." Like kind of a revisit of the 1939 War of the
don't
Worlds.
you believe? Isn't there was a recent there's something near San Diego, like about 25 or 30 years ago, and there's a photograph or two of it, and they've never explained that one. I wish I had the exact instance, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And a lot of people believe that one. That's never
Hmm.
been explained. You haven't been able to explain them all. Am I right?
Well, I haven't gone one by one, but I'm pretty
Uh,
sure. Like I said, I don't think we've been visited. I don't think we can be visited.
As says Chris says, after the movie hit the theaters, sales of Reese's Pieces topped M&Ms for the first time.
There,
Yeah.
there you go. There you
Uh,
go.
Well, I
I
was trying to be profound, and it turns out I learned it. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of tough. Humble, taking a little bit of humble pie,
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
A little
Yeah.
bit, a little bit of peanut butter on that.
So, all right, here's a story real quickly. Apparently, the Koreans, South Koreans, are giving their 5-year-old children college entrance level exam prep.
Wow.
5-year-olds,
Yeah.
because the competition to get into the schools is stiff. And which was surprising to me, because isn't the population like down to zero in population growth in South Korea? But yeah, South Korean parents are increasingly preparing their 5-year-olds to eventually sit for college entrance exams as competition for good university grows ever more fierce. And here's the thing. We live with our daughter and son-in-law, their 2 kids. And just as I was reading that tweet the other day, my 5-year-old grandson yelled, "Mom, I've got to go poop." Now that's not we're behind. We're behind the South
Well,
Koreans.
well, take your test entrance exam in there with you to read.
And you know what? As an incentive, if he does it right, we always give him M&Ms. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. If you missed the first 3 segments of the show, and if you have to go back and look at it, if there's one thing you should pay attention to, it was the wonderful disquisition about Liza Minnelli and Judy Garland and whether in fact Tim is gay. So let
I
us move right now.
I stopped at Wizard of Oz. That's the only Judy Garland film I knew.
Okay, fair
I'm not
enough.
the one, and I'm not all the one doing the parodies of show tunes either, Bruce.
I parodied only 2 tunes today. One was Chicago, State Street, that great street, and the other one was the Bomb 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 Iran, which is not my
Okay.
parody. The All right, so Riley Gaines, that that diminutive darling of Olympic fame, managed to really do something wonderful. She actually put her foot in her mouth and got a 10 for that. She came out in favor of transgenders in sports, but then she reversed herself because she got a lot of heat for it. It came up with some gobbledygook that some PR person
Wait,
wrote
wait.
for
I
her.
think it was Riley Gaines came out.
Not Riley Gaines, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. You
Oh,
got it backwards.
I confused them. Simone Biles did that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And Riley Gaines
is running for president on it.
Yeah, I mean, all those female athletes look the same to me. So
One's a swimmer, the other one's a gymnast.
It was Simone Biles. Yeah,
Yes.
Simone Biles. Yeah, and Riley Gaines criticized her, but then Simone tried to get back in the good graces of Western civilization. Then there's this USA Today story.
Well, can I go back?
PJ Bednarski.
Can I go back?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Can I go back a second here, Bruce? Before that, isn't
absolutely.
It's kind of interesting because if I'm not mistaken, I don't know all that much about Olympics, but there's completely different events for men and women.
Sure.
It's like men do the parallel bars, whereas women do the uneven bars.
Yeah,
which I always thought was kind of wrong. Is that, and then women can't do the horse? The horse, or is the horse? No, the horse is
the pommel horse. Yeah.
Pommel horse. Yeah.
Look,
so it's and men don't get to do the thing with the ball or the string on a stick. They don't
right.
They
Rhythmic
don't get to do
gymnastics or whatever it's called.
There's no male synchronized swimming.
There should be.
Oh God, should there be?
There wasn't a Saturday Night Live famous bit, so with Harry Shearer and Martin
So
Short.
I'm kind of siding with Simone Biles on this one. I
Oh,
kind
okay.
of think I don't think I'm not going to go that far that the transgenders should be allowed to compete against women, but I think that certain women's events should also have a parallel event for men. And I guarantee there aren't going to be any straight men doing synchronized swimming. It's all going to be transgender anyway. So
Yeah,
it's synchronized, it's transgender synchronized swimming without the tuck.
yeah, great idea. So anyway, USA Today had a story about the science. As PJ Benarski, the former Sun-Times TV critic who had worked for USA Today before that, said USA Today was the creator of the investigative paragraph. But the USA Today came up with there's no scientific evidence that transgender women athletes have a physical advantage over cisgender women athletes. Oh, geez, I mean, what, what aren't some truths self-evident? I mean, so here's something that I think would help the transgender cause. If they showed transgender athletes who absolutely suck against the women, you're always seeing these trans, like the latest one was this softball player. She or he was taller than everybody else, whipping the softball in. Their team won the championship. And I noticed he or she's teammates had no problem with her at all. And I didn't see any protests from the other team. But there is a public outcry over this stuff. But you're always seeing the transgenders are far superior. I mean, like secretariat superior to the rest of the field that they're against. And what if you just had a lot of transgender athletes who really weren't all that good, were clumsy, and were just like at best middle of the pack? There wouldn't be this hue and cry. Maybe there'd be hue, but not cry over them being competing with the women. Maybe, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
And as far as no scientific evidence, I you know, there's no scientific evidence that chlorine bleach enemas are hazardous to your health. You know why? Because no one's going to fund that research. And it's going to be really hard to find test subjects.
I just,
So some science just doesn't have to be done.
but just remember, we live in an era where math is considered racist. Okay, so I understand it. All right, let's really quickly look. This is really important.
Well, I want to stick with the Can we stick with the
Go ahead,
transgenders because
sure,
something else
absolutely.
happened that I not see. Is that the first Tony Award was given to a non-binary actor,
Okay.
Cole Escola. He played Mary Todd Lincoln, and
Right.
what a
Is this the Mary Todd Lincoln play where she's like a nutty cabaret singer and has absolutely nothing to do, nothing remotely resembling
yeah, exactly. It's like what if she had liked the assassination? And transgender, kind of interesting that he's non-binary, but yet he got the award for best actor, not actress, actor.
well, of why we even have the binary, why isn't it just best actor and it's not divided into female and female? I mean, that's kind of arcane to do that.
Yeah, that's the only time is female actors. The only time they don't mind being called actresses are at awards time.
Yeah.
And then it's always
Totally.
okay. I'll take the patriarchal disgrace, but look at the pretty statue I got. And here's the thing about the play too. I found out that it's a comedy. The play is
how would it not be a comedy?
Exactly. But that's the thing. You're not supposed to laugh at a man dressed up like a woman.
Oh, I thought you're not supposed to laugh at a president who's assassinated. But time, tragedy plus a couple of centuries. So, all right. For some reason on Twitter this week, it was like the 18th anniversary of the finale of The Sopranos. I can't stand that about Twitter. It's just any excuse for anniversary. I mean, it's not like the 25th or the 50th, but the 18th anniversary. And I got sucked into it. And were you a Sopranos fan?
I was. I was.
Okay, so the final episode, the final scene, "Don't Stop
Yep.
Believing,"
Yep.
is played by Tony. They're in there, and
That's a
there's
big hit.
and
That song is still big a hit in my hometown. You know why? Because I grew up south of
South
Detroit.
Detroit.
They think it's about
Is there a
them.
South Detroit?
Windsor,
Is there even
Ontario.
a South Detroit?
You go south of Detroit,
So
it's Windsor, Ontario.
okay, there you go. So, that's the song that was, by the way, the anthem of the 2005 White Sox. It was
Yeah.
the closing scene of The Sopranos, and of course, the Pope was seen in a White Sox hat just hours ago. It's so good it looks like it's AI generated, but he really is in a White Sox cap.
Wow.
So all these things coming together. But and I like the Sopranos are the kind of people who've been proud of
I
an
would like
American
to see.
Pope.
I would like to see the Pope's tailors make him a White Sox, one of those fish hats, those big, bishop fish hats that they wear, with a Sox logo on the front. That would look that would look awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, the final scene, the big debate apparently was whether Tony is killed or not, and the strongest bit of evidence for that he's killed, in my opinion, is that in that final scene, they show a bunch of people coming through the door of the diner, and you see a number of them through the eyes of Tony from his viewpoint. And the last one to come in that you see from his viewpoint is his daughter, Meadow. And that's it, the last thing that you actually see. And then after that, the screen goes blank for about 8 seconds, whatever, and people are wondering what the heck happened. Well, so it's reasonable to conclude that if you end on Tony's viewpoint, that's the last thing he sees, and then he goes blank because he's killed, probably in that homage from the guy who walks into the bathroom like it's a scene from a Godfather and comes out shooting, except you don't see that part. Your view on what actually happened in The Sopranos at the end?
Oh, it was obvious. It was obvious Tony was whacked. Why else? Why else would it go black like that? I mean, it's the only way to explain. It's like, oh God, we can't find the rest of the script. What do we do? Just let the camera roll with the lens cap on. Oh, okay.
Well, somebody said to me, this Ronald Voigt, the Twitter follower, that Chase, the creator, actually wanted Tony to drive into a tunnel and not come out. HBO wanted an open door for another season. I mean, you talk about compromises and fights like Reese's Pieces and how movies get,
sure,
made.
Well, I'm sure
they wanted another season or an HBO movie.
I'm sure Chase was, if the right number happened, it was like, oh yeah, Tony just passed out again.
Yeah. But, this guy says, and when in the history of the series did Tony ever go to dinner in a diner? So it's like, it was like looking for it, looking to get whacked. But yeah, Don't Stop Believing. And all coming together. Don't Stop Believing, the 2005 White Sox, the Pope in a Sox hat. And I'm going to go, as we're finishing right now, I have such a yen for Reese's Pieces. Now that I know what Spielberg did, it's fantastic. And I'm still
sticking with M&Ms because, dang it, they did not sell out.
I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to listen to Liza Minnelli singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow in tribute to her mother. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.